Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts, Wrestling Chris G, and joining me this week, he is the man who's about to get hitched. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, man, how you doing?
You've skipped far too many steps.
No. You're about to get hitched, man. You're just like James in this episode. He had no idea he was engaged. He comes to town. He's about to get married, and man, this is a funny episode that we're about to go.
Well, let me just tell you, without going too far into the episode, I would have done the exact opposite.
You would have married her and took the money?
I would have taken the money and I would have learned to love her.
But she was trying to whip you.
I don't care. Maybe I'm into that.
Whole nother podcast, Doug. Whole nother podcast. This is
well, you started it.
So many jokes that we're gonna have during this episode. I can see it right now. But this week's episode is episode 48. Everybody, Holy Matrimony, or translated from Japanese, Gardie and Kojirou.
Nah, I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm good on that. So, yeah. Well, let's get the elephant out of the room real quick, bro. That was some interview that we had last week. What a fucking guest that we had.
Yeah, I mean, I was so impressed with him. I mean, he was game for what we were doing. I mean, I mentioned in the episode, goosebumps multiple times. I didn't realize he was sitting at a piano because, I mean, obviously we don't do video.
Yet.
Well, yeah. So just to have, we had a few little snippets and then we had some accompanying background music. I mean, and he totally went for it. I can't say enough that wasn't already said.
He's such a nice guy.
Such a solid dude as well, right?
Yes. So it was pretty cool having good old Jason Page. I want to give him one last shout out on the show. Thanks again for coming on, Jason. If you end up hearing this, it was a pleasure having you. Hopefully, we can have you on another future episode.
I don't want to derail the recording by any stretch. I'm just going to ask if it's coming through on your end.
A little bit.
Okay. Well, my puppy has a rubber pig.
Oh.
That yeah.
You're not derailing. So, we can keep it in.
No, I mean it's fine. I didn't know, like, if I was gonna bring it up, you'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, welcome to the podcast. What's the name of your dog?
Levi.
There you go. So
and that's to illustrate how strong of a toy that is. My door is shut.
Oh shit! I thought he was right next to you.
I'm telling you.
So, all right. So I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. So we let the elephant out of the room, and now we're gonna let the cat out of the bag.
We have a dog with a pig. So
we got a dog with a pig. So you remember last week how Jason Page was talking about the whole Pokemon card game is kind of making its rounds back into the lives of a lot of old trainers and new trainers.
Yeah.
So good old Wrestling Chris G, because
no.
Well, no. Listen what I'm about to say. So my in-laws, my sister-in-law had a pencil container full of Pokemon cards that obviously she doesn't use anymore because she's a 16-year-old girl, and what 16-year-old girl is going to want to be playing Pokemon?
Well,
Yeah. So she had it and she gave it to my son. So my son was sitting there playing with the Pokemon cards, but it's not a proper deck. Like it's just whatever she had left, like a bunch of energy cards and maybe a Pikachu here and a couple holographic Pokemon cards. So my son had gotten a decent amount of GameStop gift cards.
a decent amount.
He got a lot.
Store.
What's up?
He's got a store.
I know. Well, between me and him, we own GameStop.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother story. But so my son wanted to learn how to play the Pokemon game. And I was like, okay, I'll teach you. So I tried teaching him with the cards that he had and kind of failed a little bit because the cards that he has, again, is not a complete deck and I can't really show him how to play properly. So today I went on GameStop.com and they have what they call the Pokemon Trading Card Game Academy set or something like that. So I went ahead and I bought that for him. So come next week, come this Friday, my son's going to have three decks that come with the trading card game, and he also has another surprise coming because I found a guy who had a bunch of retro Pokemon cards that he sold to me for $40, and it's over 2,000 Pokemon cards that Jordan is about to have. So, and this guy that sold it to me, he's like, I don't know much about Pokemon. I bought these from a storage unit, and it was just a bunch of Pokemon cards that was on the inside of the storage unit. So, come to find out, there's a lot of rare Pokemon cards inside of this deck.
So you ripped my guy off.
Well, hell yeah. Well, we didn't know. He just flipped through and was like, oh, I was like, okay, cool. I can snag these. What? How much you want? $40? Okay, cool. And there's Charizard inside of this binder.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's a holographic Charizard, so I need to go and get that baby appraised.
Yeah, but, yeah, you do.
So,
if you don't hear an episode next week, you'll know that he's hit a big one and he's on an island somewhere.
Well, the biggest one would be a first edition, which I don't think this is a first edition card. It is a hologram Charizard, but all of these cards.
Actually, who am I kidding? I know that money would be in college funds.
Oh yeah, easily. But this Charizard is in good shape, but all these cards are in actual good shape, and they were all preserved, so they're all in plastic.
Oh, nice.
So I think I got a really good get here. I mean, even if he didn't want these cards at a later time, I can easily go somewhere and sell these cards, but I don't think I'm gonna. As a Pokemon fan, if you're a legit Pokemon fan, I don't think you go and sell these cards to really make money. You collect them, and maybe at a later time you could sell them. But I don't think I could get rid of these right now.
Well, but that's tricky because we kind of started this conversation by saying that the cards are experiencing a bit of a boom, and you don't know how long that boom's going to last.
That is also true.
And I mean, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I'm just saying, like, there's a time to strike when the iron's hot, and I think the iron's as hot as it's been in at least 20 years, and you don't know
if it's going to get that hot again.
Right.
So right now, I'm definitely going to get that baby appraised, and then there's also a bunch of other holographic cards. I'm literally sitting on like over 2,000 like Pokemon cards.
Well, you better not be.
Well, not really sitting on them, but
Oh,
they're
good.
like 2,000 like Pokemon cards that have been preserved. So I wanted to make sure that I brought it up on this podcast because I'm like, man, uh, this is pretty cool. And then Jordan, of course, he didn't just want the Academy starter set. He wanted a couple booster packs. So I got him. I ordered a couple booster packs online as well. So we'll see what he ends up getting. Maybe that's something I can do. Maybe I can do a weekly thing where I buy him a deck and tell everybody what I've opened up.
That's how that shit starts, man.
I know. So people that are listening to this podcast, if you want to go over to our Twitter or email us at every Pokemon episode ever podcast at Gmail and let us know whether you want me to go through and tell all of you what I've opened up, or if you want me to do a weekly open on a random $5 pack each week, go ahead and let us know. I think it'll be nice.
Psst.
What's up?
That's YouTube content.
I know that's YouTube content. That's the point. That's the reason I'm doing it, because we're about to open up YouTube.
But don't be giving it away on Twitter, is what I'm saying.
Well, people need to let us know if they're even interested in that. But yeah,
well, that's true as well. But I'm just saying, like, that's pack openings, be they IRL or in Madden or FIFA or MLB The Show 21. Any of these cards that have, or these games that have like virtual stores, pack openings are huge on YouTube.
Yes. So just to let everyone know, I mean, I will. We are getting things set for a YouTube channel. Maybe that's something that I can do. If you guys are interested in something like that, just let us know. And that'll be an extension of our YouTube channel outside of just listening to podcasts that you can get off of iTunes or Google.
Yeah, I mean that's that's perfect.
So, but all right, well, outside of that, Doug, how have you been doing? Or if you have anything Pokemon related, how have things been on your end? Because it's been about a week since we've actually recorded, so we can kind of catch up. What'd you say?
I said it's been 6 days.
Yes, it has. It has been 6 days.
Right. But no, I'm good, man. I mean, it's just kind of hanging out, watching these episodes, making sure that I've got my shit together. Yeah.
All right. And people that play Pokemon Go, I just got my Sylveon today because they finally released Sylveon in the game this morning, and they were some bitches. I mean, luckily I knew the trick of how to get Sylveon before Sylveon came out, but they wanted us to get 70 hearts with this Pokemon before getting your Eevee to evolve into a Sylveon. So, and I nicknamed my Eevee Kira.
So, what's the significance?
Well, in Pokemon Go, and as we progress in the series, as we're reviewing, every time they introduce a new Eevee and its evolved form like Umbreon or Espeon, they all have nicknames. And in the cartoon, so in the Pokemon Go game, if you nickname your Pokemon that Pokemon, and the trick only works once, but if you nickname your Eevee that Pokemon, it will evolve into an Espeon, Umbreon, Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon, any of the variants of Eevee, or Glaceon and Leafeon. But now they have Sylveon, which is the fairy version of Eevee, and the fairy version's name is Kira. So I nicknamed my Eevee Kira, and I already had way over the 70 hearts. So this morning, once it dropped, I evolved my Eevee, and my Eevee is running around all happy in the game right now.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So that was a nice little tidbit that I just wanted to throw out there for everybody because it it was cool. It's been long waited. Like it's been over. I feel like Sylveon should have been in the game last year, and we finally got her today. So it's nice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and now I'm trying to get a second one in the game because I have a shiny Eevee, and yeah, that's about it.
All right then.
All right. So, well, I feel like we kind of chit chatted a little bit. You ready to get on into our history moment, Doug?
Oh, definitely.
All right. So this week, Holy Matrimony debuted in Japan June 11th, 1998, and here in the States, March 13th, 1999. And I know damn well that mine happened in 2014. So, Doug, you beat me to the chase this week. What is yours?
So on March 13th, 2005, by for goodness sakes, I talk. Bob Iger is named CEO of Walt Disney International, succeeding Michael Eisner.
Oh, okay.
And just to kind of earmark the occasion, the first movie released under his umbrella was The Rookie. That's a baseball movie starring Dennis Quaid. And the first animated film of the Iger era was Lilo and Stitch.
Well, dude, I remember going to see Lilo and Stitch at a drive-in movie theater. You remember those?
I do remember drive-ins. I thought they were going to make a comeback this past year, but kind of, sort of, not really.
Yeah. I also thought that we're going to be on the bunch where all movies are going to be on demand or movie theater, like you take your preference. And come to find out with this new Saw movie.
Yeah, I'm so pissed.
Yeah.
And I know it's first world problems, and I understand that, and I recognize my privilege. But I don't, and maybe I'm jaded or whatever. I don't really get hyped on movies, and I'm not like, chomping at the bit, losing sleep about this one. But it hooked me on the trailer.
Yes.
And it's not a Marvel movie. So, obviously, I watched the Phase 4 Marvel trailer the other day, and I was, geeking out because they, had a bunch of, release dates and shit.
Yes.
So, obviously that one, but, I was like, it's a Saw film. I was like, yeah. And I was like, that's Chris Rock. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, that doesn't look like it's going to be, bloody. And I was like, oh, shit. Because, the last couple Saw films, it was how many different ways can we kill these kids?
Yes.
Right? I don't get that vibe on this one. I mean, I could be totally wrong when I watch it. But I get that they're trying to be a little more methodical with their approach.
And I'm excited. And I'm going to pull the curtains back just a little bit. I know this is a Pokemon podcast, but I literally begged my wife. I was like, babe, you think we could have a little date night on Saturday night and go and watch this new Saw movie? And she's like, okay. I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. And anyone that knows my wife knows that my wife has been very put offish or like cautious, not wanting to
cautious.
Yeah, cautious. She's been extra cautious when it comes to the whole COVID situation. And I actually talked her into going to watch Saw this upcoming Saturday. So we got a little date night going this Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah. So I was so mad that I found one. I didn't even know they made another one until it was already in theaters. And once I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what streaming service it's on." I was like, "Oh, it's not on a streaming service." Awesome.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed and I'm trying to think like it's Lionsgate, right? So it would be.
Twisted Films.
Oh, I thought it was Lionsgate.
Nope,
Okay.
Twisted Pictures.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't even know what that would be affiliated with.
Not sure, to be honest. I wish I knew. But all right. I know people are probably wanting to turn us off, but
Ah, there's a skip button.
my date happened in 2014, and this is the date that Captain America: The Winter Soldier premiered in Los Angeles. And we thought that we could kind of tie this in because um, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier basically just finished off about a month ago because we're about to get what next week or the week after we're getting Loki.
The week after, I think.
Okay. So by the time you're hearing this, Loki's already out. But as we're recording this, we have about 2 weeks left before the Loki premiere. So that's how far we've gone in the Marvel universe. And you even just tied in that they just brought out a bunch of release dates. Now I haven't watched that yet. That's something that's on my to do list. Now have they said that if it's going to be on Disney Plus with these movies and theaters, or how are they doing?
I this was to me it was leaning heavy on hey, let's all get back to theaters.
Okay, gotcha. Well, poop.
Well, I
The
mean, you got to figure, you know, and I mean, obviously, we're saying this, and you said this episode's not going up for a month, so who knows what's going to happen in a month. But as we're sitting here on May 25th, we seem to be rounding a corner.
yes. So
So, you
and,
would hope that we could be in theaters by, Black Widow, let's say.
yeah, well, I'm ready to go back to theaters this Saturday.
Oh, right.
So, and I'm done. I mean, I did my part. I'm fully vaccinated. You're about to get your second dose as well.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a couple weeks out. I got
yes.
on the 12th, so yeah.
So yeah, by the time this episode comes out, you'll be fully vaccinated, and they're talking about all bringing all sports back towards the end of July, especially out here in Illinois land, and I cannot wait for that. Man, I can't wait. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, because certain theaters have been open. Like I think our movie theater out by us has been open, but you know, it's like now that I've got one dose in, I'm like, well, at this point I might as well wait until I get that second dose,
Yes.
and
Yep, do your part. Get vaccinated, everybody. If you don't believe in it, it's perfectly fine. I'm not pushing it on you, but if you want to, ba- definitely do your part. Let's get this world back to what it needs to be, and so we can go ahead and take these masks off and be free again.
well,
So
my middle finger on my left arm fell off, but
we're turning into zombies, man. We're turning into zombies.
hey, we all saw that match at Backlash.
We all want to wish that we didn't. Uh, all
Yes.
right. So you're ready, Doug?
Yeah, I am ready.
All right. Let me go ahead. I'm about to turn on the good old Pokemon episode. I'm recording this from my theater room, everybody. You're probably like, theater room? Yes, I have a legit movie theater in my basement of my home. And it's
Sticky
awesome.
floors and everything.
I do not. It hasn't been that long yet. But all right, so you're good to go, Doug.
hmm
All right, let's go ahead and get this on in then. Let's see. This week's episode, we start off. Do I have the subtitles on? Yes, I do. All right, so Ash, Misty, and Brock are walking, and we see the egg. And this is one of the rare moments that we actually see Brock holding this egg because I mean we all know this Pokemon is Togepi. That will come out on a future episode. I think on in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, we're gonna have Togepi. So we all know that this egg belongs to Togepi, and Brock is over there being a mother and father figure for this egg. And we come up to a missing sign, and it has what looks to be James from Team Rocket as a cute little boy.
Yeah, and as soon as we get a shot of him, we go to the title card.
Yes.
So, like, how much shit are they about to pack into this episode? That we're into the title sequence a minute and like 22 seconds in.
Yes. So we got holy matrimony, and there we go. The Ash and the gang are looking at the sign. They're like, that can't be James. And then you can tell how fast forward this episode is going to be. I mean, I don't think anything can go any faster than last week's episode. But as soon as they're looking at this sign, here pulls up this big blue and yellow limousine, and a guy rolls the window down with a blowhorn and screams into the trio's ears, "Have you seen the boy in that photo?" Doug.
And, Ash says, well, if that's James from Team Rocket, then yeah. So, and the guy's happy and he throws him into the limousine and he drives off. So, I'm curious.
Yes.
Does this guy just drive up and down that road, just waiting for people to walk by that sign every day?
Apparently. I don't know if they had, and I don't want to give too many spoilers as we're going through this episode because we are reviewing it. But I kind of had the feeling after watching this episode and kind of putting two and two together that, I can't say it yet. Okay, I can't say it yet. I'm going to give my assumption in about 10 minutes. So, okay, so as soon as the trio hops into the limousine with this guy, so random old man coming up and picking up these kids, and Ash and the gang just go and jump into the car. Just all right.
Well, they didn't jump. They were basically accosted.
Yeah, they were.
They didn't go on their own free. I mean, we'll see in a couple minutes. They're sitting back in that limo drinking tea. So I mean,
I still wouldn't have been. I don't know this guy. I'm not going to be drinking any tea, but
I'm not getting in that damn car.
Exactly. So as soon as that, as soon as they leave in the limousine, Jesse from Team Rocket, because of course they're following the trio,
Right.
walk up to the missing sign and goes, this kid looks a lot like you, James. And James looks over and he's like, you think so? I think he looks really pathetic. And Meow was like, yeah, that's what she means, James, right? We better investigate. And James looks just so disheartened. He looks down. He doesn't want to be here right now. He wished they took the left over at the fork of the road instead of making that right. Like he has so many emotions going through him
And if he really was that conflicted, he should have just turned around and walked away.
right now.
I find it hard to have sympathy for this guy.
So he's standing at the sign, and Jesse and Meowth go running away. And then they come back because James is like, I'll just stay right here. I'm just going to stand here. And they're like, oh, no, you won't. And they pick him up like a ladder and just run him away.
So it's not exactly like he's dragging his feet because he could have just gone dead weight.
Yes.
So then we're back in the limo. And like I say, they've got tea and crumpets. And one of them makes a crack about, feels like, we passed the mailbox half an hour ago or the front gates or whatever. And, they pull up and I think Brock says, this place is huge. I've seen shopping malls that are smaller than this place.
And
And it turned.
the guy in the limousine that's with them, he's like, "This is a small house." I was like, "What the fuck?"
The building behind it is the master house, and they all fucking faint.
He had enough nerve to say that the big old mansion that they pulled up to first is all for the Growler,
Well, we
which
don't know that
was,
yet.
huh?
We don't know that yet. You're talking about spoilers.
Ah, he. Well, what was the term?
He said
That,
doghouse.
oh, he said it's the dog house the Pokemon um for the Pokemon trainer that they used to be his trainer. No, it says Growly. It says the little dog house is for Growly, the favorite Pokemon of Master James.
Yeah, but you don't know what a growly is at this moment.
It's a Growly.
Well, you don't know that.
so yeah, they as you said, they all faint, and then the butler. I'm gonna call him the butler now because I hate beating around the bush, but the butler um, has the trio walk with him into this big old mansion, and behind them is Jesse, Meow, and good old James, who does not want to be anywhere near this place right now. And Jesse's like, we're in a lap of luxury. And they're like, we hit the jackpot, we hit the jackpot. And James just wants nothing to do with this. Doug, you want to take the entrance into the mansion?
Far away, look in his eyes. So yeah, they walk in and bang up front two big coffins.
This
Just
is bullshit.
coffins and a big family portrait. And the butler basically says, as soon as young Master James ran away, his mother and father lacked the strength to go on, and just today they passed on, which means that this house belongs to Master James as pardon me, as long as he's married today or within 24 hours of their passing. And
Yes.
Team Rock is up in the crawl space, and they say, "Is this place really yours?" And James is like you said, he doesn't want to be there, but well, apparently,
Yeah, he's like, yeah, apparently this is all mine. And Jesse and James are just besides themselves because they're sitting here. They're like, we're sitting here trying to capture a Pikachu to get rich and steal money. If and back home, you can give up being Team Rocket, and you're living in a life of luxury. It's like what?
yeah.
Like Jesse is one to talk because she grew up rich as well, but still. But we find out from the butler
Well,
that
yeah, I was a little ahead of my skis on this one, but yeah.
no, you're good. We find out from the butler uh, that Master James ran away, and that his parents at the, this is such bullshit. His parents could not move on, and their hearts were so broken that because he had left, they couldn't live anymore, and they passed away, and they died.
So,
This
so
is.
in yeah, and
I
this
don't
is
mean to
where
say this is bullshit, but you know what we're about to get into, and it's complete bullshit.
yeah.
All right, go Doug.
And then yeah, like I say, that's when we got the stipulations about, this is James' inheritance as long as he gets married, within 24 hours. And cut to the three of them. Well, I mean, I guess I should say the four of them because you got to include Pikachu. They're sitting on the front steps of this place, saying, "Boy, it's awful. I hope we run into James soon." And wouldn't you know who won the pony? We hear a scuffle up on the roof or in the attic or whatever the fuck, and Team Rocket come falling out of the sky and landing on their face.
Yes. So as soon as they land on their face, they Jesse is arguing with James. She's like, "Come on, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go and get the money, we gotta go and get the money." And James is sitting there, and he's like, "I don't want to go in, I don't want to go in." And Ash and Brock are like, "Will you stop? His parents just passed away. He's got to come to their funeral." And James goes, "Never." And then he kind of thinks about what he just said at that
And
point.
then he's like, "Oh, I'm so confused. I feel like I'm being ripped apart." And one of them goes, "I think he's got amnesia." And I was like, "Yeah, he did just fall on his head." I mean, to be completely fair, I mean, because this is like a cobblestone walkway. I mean,
So it's at this point that he's like, "It's all a blur to me. I remember flunkering out of Pokemon Tech and joining a bicycle gang. I only remember one scene before that. It was a dark and stormy night. A boy was wandering far from home with his loyal Growlithe Growly." Let's see what. Come on, hurry up!
he basically tells Growly to go on. He's not going to make it. Go on and save yourself.
And he's dead. He tells the story about himself dying.
And we flash back to the present time, and James stands there or is sitting there, and he goes, "And that boy passed on in the night, and froze, and Growly cried at his side all night." And which one of them snaps him out of it?
Oh, let's see. So, well, it wasn't anyone that really snapped him out of it, but Misty.
Misty, because the other one, everybody else was crying.
Yeah, everyone's crying at the story, and Misty is sitting there, and she's like, "Everybody, James is right here. He's not dead."
And James sits up and goes, "Oh yeah."
"I am here. I am alive."
And then he's like, "Ah," and then he curls into a ball again, basically.
My head hurts. So, but it's at this point that we find out that James needs to get married in order to get all of this inheritance, and it's told to him again. And as long as he marries her within the 24 hours that he gets the mansion, he gets all the money, he gets everything.
And Jesse is under the assumption that they could just fake a wedding and just take the money from there. And James isn't even hearing that. He just runs off. And freaking Meowth and Jesse have to lasso him back. And, this is where we get Brock and Ash are kind of on their high horse. Oh, he should be able to marry whoever he wants. And, basically tell Team Rocket says, mind your business, basically. And then we have sheer stupidity.
Yes, just straight dumbness. Okay, so we cut straight from that to Jesse and Meowth dressed in all black. And they immediately say that these invisible disguises are great. So they think that they're invisible. And they're hiding behind James, who walks up to the door and knocks on it. So they're holding James' arms and they're working his arms, making it seem like he's really there. And did they really think that they were invisible, Doug?
How
old are they?
It had been a minute since I saw this episode. As you're watching it, bits and pieces come back to you.
Yes.
And before I hit go, I was like, I remember there's being something about basically puppet suits.
Yes.
Because they're basically treating James like he's a goddamn marionette. But I was like, I don't remember how long they go with the bit that James or Meowth and Jesse aren't there.
So it's at this point they walk in, and James sees the two coffins, and Jesse's talking for James. I forgot to say, James' mouth is tied, so he can't talk.
With a piece of white cloth, not even
Yes,
black cloth. So like the butler at this point is just willingly ignoring the white cloth over his mouth
yes.
because
So
it doesn't matter because James is home.
So Jesse at this point is speaking for James, and she's like, "Oh, mommy and daddy, it's true. I'm back. I'm back home after a long journey to get my money." And everyone's like, "Huh? Oh, and Meowth is like, "You're blowing it. I'm here to get married just like it says in your will. I want cash, not a check." And they're just making money jokes like left and right with James right here.
And then Jesse says, "Oh, I should have been back sooner," and this, that, and the other. And then we start hearing laughter from the goddamn coffins.
And this is where I called bullshit.
Yeah, because then James' mother and father pop out of the coffin and do the opening lines of
Their motto.
the Team Rocket motto. And Jesse and Meowth are like, "Well, it's ghosts." And this is where James gets a bit of a backbone and goes, "They're not ghosts, you imbeciles. They fake their own death."
So it's at this point that his parents sit here and his parents. I had a problem with this scene, and this is where they should have known that things were not what they thought they were. But his parents say this was the only way that we were going to be able to get you back home, so you can go ahead and get married because we have an arranged marriage for you. And it's at this point that they tell the butler to go and get James ready, and the butler in both arms grabs Jesse and James and Meowth and runs up the stairs, Doug.
Right.
Like, what?
So, and then you go, okay, they were just playing along with it long enough to get him in the door, and so that the parents could reveal that they were, faking.
Yes.
But then we get into the room, and Jesse and Meowth are still behind James because James is tied in the chair at this point. Well, no, not quite, but he's being held down by James and Meowth, or by Jesse and Meowth.
You'll get it.
So the butler knows that Jesse and Meowth exist and are there because, like you said, he used both arms to pick him up.
Yes.
But are they still there? I mean, I'm taking it that they're still playing along with the idea that James has amnesia, and this is like a coping mechanism. They go, well, James was an eccentric child. Maybe he just needs this for him to think that they're his imaginary friends or something. And we're not going to talk about it because he's here and he's going to get married in a second.
Yeah, we finally got him back. We're not going to blow it. So just follow along. So they're in the room, and this female is sitting in a chair, and she just starts talking. Well, yeah, she starts talking, basically saying, "Welcome back, James." And Meowth is like, "Oh, wow. She sounds a lot."
Her voice is like catnip.
Yeah, her voice is like catnip. I'm in love. And she pulls is that a fan, Doug? Would you call it a fan? Okay. She pulls the fan from in front of her face, and it's a girl that looks just like Jesse, like to the T. And they even do a little panning back and forth between Jesse's face and this girl's face, and the only difference is Jessie wears her hair up, and this girl wears her hair down.
And we have a big comedic, reveal, and I got to imagine that was the act break. And then we get the obvious, Meowth stating the obvious, and of course Jessie doesn't see the comparison, and
of course she doesn't see the comparison because she's sitting here saying that this girl looks ugly, and literally, and James is sitting there, and he's like, or no, Meowth is like, she has your face. It's like twins. So at this moment, James is basically sitting there, going, well, he's talking to Meowth and Jesse at this point, and this girl, which we don't have her name yet, she's like, why do you keep talking to yourself? So she's in on the game too.
They haven't said her name yet?
Did they say Jezebel yet?
I'm almost certain they said it when she turned her chair around.
Okay. So yes, Jezebel, that's the name of the nice pretty woman, and she is talking to James. She's like, James, why are you talking to yourself? And Jesse puts her hand over his mouth and goes, you can't blow this. You have to get married, because if you don't get married, you don't get the money and you don't get the house. And you're going to blow this. So Meowth is basically telling him too. He's like, we're counting on you to make all of us stinking rich. And James is just fighting him in this chair.
And then we find out that Jezebel is in fact a real girl, because she can move and talk on her own. And she goes, well, I have an idea. Why don't we all go down to the basement?
Oh man, I wish. So yeah, they say let's go down to the basement, but she doesn't just say let's go down to the basement. Let's go down to the basement so I can show you all of your inheritance. Is what she tells.
And they go, and Jezebel goes through the whole sob story about ever since you ran away, blah 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 blah. And Jesse has a good line about it. It's nice to be back here, reunited with my money.
And she's like, huh? And he's like, with you.
With you.
There's money jokes throughout this entire episode.
And we stop in front of this heavy iron door. And she goes, your inheritance is in here.
And she presses a button and it opens up. And Meowth and Jesse are like foaming at the mouth, waiting to see what's inside of this door. And they walk in, and it's a bunch of gym equipment.
Yeah, it's basically a home gym, basically.
Which I call this the fetish.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes. You've watched that movie, Doug?
No.
I have.
I mean, I've seen the parts that matter,
but me and my wife watch that movie at least twice a year, all three.
All right, I don't need to know what you do on Valentine's Day. Jesus Christ.
So it's at this point that they see all the gym equipment, and Jessie has a funny line. She's like, "Huh? What's all this junk?"
And James has I think he's snapped. He's like, "You idiots! She tricked you to bring you down here." And Jesse goes, "How'd she spot us?"
He's "You imbeciles! You're not invisible." And it's at this point that his father and his mother are inside of the room with them, standing on top of the workout equipment. Mother has a flute, the dad has a bong, and Jezebel has a whip.
Has a what?
A whip.
No, the father has a what?
I thought it was a gong.
You said bong.
Oh, my bad. Weed, man, weed.
I was like, son of a bitch.
No, not a bong. I didn't mean to say that. I talk everyone. But father has a gong. The mother has a flute, or not a flute, a whistle. And let's see.
That's a flute. You're right.
Yeah, and Jezebel.
And Jezebel
switched outfits.
She has a whip, and she's looking like the leader of a 3-ring circus.
Yes, like just full getup and everything, just right there. I'm like, oh, okay. And I I got funny. Like I want to know really. We need to start getting the writers on our show to kind of get the background of some of these episodes, because it's at this point that they look. Everyone's looking at Jesse and Meowth in these black outfits, right? And they're like, "Can they see us?" And they explain, "You guys are idiots. We saw you the whole time. We had to play your little game to get James back here, to get down here." And it's at this point that Jezebel, with the whip, starts chasing James around the damn workout room, just whipping his ass.
As James is running, he has a good line because his mother and father are just sitting at a table just drinking some tea, and he's running by, and he goes, "If you two were better parents, you would stop this."
And let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna. Because Ash, Misty, and Brock was like, "Should we try to help?" And Brock's like, "I don't like to get involved in family squabbles."
Which is bullshit, because that was the whole genesis of the fighting tournament episode, the battling Eevee brothers, the frickin' Parasect. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of.
Almost every episode of Pokemon that we've gone over, they're with somebody's family.
Family squab. Don't like to get involved with family squabbles.
Brock just knows his place. He's like because we can't have Brock over here like getting all like horned up with Jezebel, because that would mean that he's attracted to Jess. So
no, see, but if Team Rocket can't make that jump, then I'm not trusting it to be put on a 10 or 15-year-old.
So at this point, because my episode kind of was fast forwarding.
Then we find out Jezebel's go-to Pokemon is a Vileplume.
Yes. So, and it's at this point that that good old Dexter comes out, and we get told that I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over this. It says Vileplume, the flower Pokemon, using the largest flower petals on its body, it spreads large clouds of pollen that causes allergic reactions. So Jezebel sits here and goes, Vileplume, use your stun spore to slow down James to keep him from escaping. So she's trying to paralyze this dude.
Well, I mean, yes. In reality, yes. But stun spore in this instance is just treated like a sleep aid.
Yes.
Which is bullshit, because there's such a thing as sleep powder.
Yes, it's sleep powder.
So, I don't know.
Well, and Jezebel walks over. She has a gas mask on after she tells Vileplume to use stun spore, and she's like, "Heh, sleeping like a baby."
And the butler basically gives them the bum's rush out the door, and everybody's trying to regroup, and I think Misty says, every rose has its thorn. No, Brock says every rose has its thorn, and Misty says, well, she's more like a cactus, which not bad. And they're kind of sitting there. They're all kind of dejected, and then we start hearing a commotion coming from the doghouse.
Yes, and it's like, and then all of a sudden, good old Growlithe, James, I don't want to say his first Pokemon, but one of his first Pokemon comes running and just headbutts the front door, and it's just standing there. So Pikachu starts pointing, and Ash is like, "Huh? What's it want?" And and Meowth goes, "If it wants somebody to open the door to that doghouse." So the trio goes over there. Well, everyone goes over there, and the door is locked at this point. And he's like, "Can someone give me a hand with this door?" And they're like, "Sure, Ash." And they all tug and they pull and they pull and they pull. And what happens, Doug?
Well, I think the combination of all of them pulling backwards plus Growlithe making one final lunge towards the door is enough to unlock the door. Ash gets stepped on.
Gets a nice little footprint right on his face.
And then we cut back to the mansion where Jezebel has James cornered.
And she's telling him it's time to get married.
And then, James has one final plea for Growly. He comes running. Stands in front of James.
It would have been cool to see this because this is years and years later. How is this Growlithe not evolved into an Arcanine yet?
Well, right. I mean, that was my first thought because, and fuck it. At this point, I'm gonna skip around because it's relevant to to our specific discussion because there's a scene, a flashback later.
Yes.
Because James makes mention of the fact that they've basically been there's been an agreement in place since they were really young children that they were get married. And James says, "Well, I always hated hoity-toity society because I always felt that it was better than me and nothing that I ever did was good enough." And we see a flashback of young James running out of the mansion and calling for Growly as he goes running by. And we see them running up the road. And we see young Jezebel running down the steps of the manor with an Oddish.
Yes.
So her Oddish can evolve
into a Vileplume.
Which is 2 evolutions, right?
Yes. It evolves into Gloom and then Vileplume.
Right. But we've already, in terms of the show, we've already been introduced to Gloom.
Yes.
So that can evolve, but no Arcanine for James, which is kind of ridiculous, even if it is mainly been in the doghouse this whole time. There's something to be said for life experience.
I know. So it's at this point that they know that they've been keeping Growlithe away because Growlithe doesn't like anybody that's inside of this house right now. So once he gets in there, Jezebel's like, "Who let this ratchet thing in here?" And she's like, "Vileplume, get rid of this horrid thing." And Vileplume sits there, and as Stunspore is spewing out of Vileplume, Growlithe grabs James and busts out the window into the doghouse, and everyone is just waiting inside of the doghouse as Jezebel flash forwards to the top of the damn building.
Looking like daggum Cruella de Vil or something.
Yes. So at this point, they're inside of the doghouse, and Jesse's like, "Your fiance is truly despicable." And Meowth is like, "Told you she's just like Jessie." And it's at this point that Jessie just gets pissed and she just starts stretching Meowth's face, like the animal abuse in this episode.
Well, yeah, because she's hit him and put a knot on his head. She's wrestled with him already once, and she makes a comment. She's like, "I'm going to make your mouth bigger." So, yeah, poor Meowth has just been getting the shit end of the stick all episode from Jessie.
So, and then that's when we get the flashback that you had mentioned at a minute ago. So we're going to fast forward through that part because you kind of put it in the episode where it should have been, but now we're at the point where Jezebel breaks down a section of the wall with her Vileplume and breaks into the room that everybody is standing. And
Yeah,
it's battle time.
And Meowth and Jesse are launched out.
Yes.
So the only people that are left are our heroes and James and Growly. And then, so it looks like we're going to have a proper battle. Have we gotten the Pokédex entry? I mean, other than, like, because was it a surprise that Growly turns out to be a fire Pokemon, or was it mentioned in Dexter's initial entry and I just skipped over it?
Um, I couldn't tell you if it. No, it was. It was. Yes, he is a fire Pokemon because it's at this point when Vileplume is using her stun spore. Ash goes Pikachu, Thunderbolt, and then James goes Growly. It's weak, flamethrower, and freaking just toast this Vileplume to shreds.
And, nothing wrong with a cooked mushroom. They're delicious.
And Jezebel starts running away with Vileplume. I'm gonna say even though they didn't have Vileplume on fire running away, but that would have been a nice visual in this episode. But I'm gonna say that Vileplume was toasting running out of this room.
Well, just give me a second because I've got an issue with old Jezebel here.
Okay.
So we cut to James' parents and the butler on the bridge feeding some food to a couple Magikarps. And from their point of view, we see Jezebel coming up to them. And, oh, here's lovely Jezebel. What a fine daughter-in-law she's going to turn out to be. And she just trucks them over. And, says, I hate that Growlithe, Vileplume is in the pileup.
Yes.
So she runs away from her Pokemon.
Yep. And she wants nothing to do with any of this anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, this was basically it. We get to the end of the episode and we find out we have a nice visual of James getting ready to say his goodbye to his Growlithe. He's like,
bullshit.
What do you mean bullshit?
Bullshit.
Why is it bullshit?
Take him the fuck with you.
Well, he says that Growlithe needs to stay.
Bullshit. Why?
It's literally his strongest Pokemon. You're not wrong, Doug. You're not wrong.
I know I'm not. I'm getting sick and tired of people leaving Pokemon in this show.
Oh, well, you have a long journey ahead of you, man.
I know.
My friend, all the Pokemon that gets left behind in this series, it's ridiculous.
Bullshit.
I know.
So yeah, he says his tearful goodbye that he doesn't have to say, and then we see Jesse and Meowth are walking, and they say, well, I guess James chose to hang up his Team Rocket uniform. And then in the distance, we get prepare for trouble, and we find out that James is in the freaking hot air balloon.
Yes.
And, Jesse does it back, and then we get this cheesy freaking rom-com scene where James scoops the basket low enough to scoop Jesse up, and they have kind of a
moment.
They have a moment, and they basically agree that they're better as Team Rocket, and everybody's all happy because they're reunited, and then we find out, oh shit, Meowth's not in the basket.
So, and that's really kind of how we end up ending this episode this week.
Well, except for the fact that Jezebel is chasing our trio, which makes no sense because the last time we saw Jezebel, she was trucking over motherfuckers on the bridge.
Yes.
So why is she back running after? That makes no sense.
It looks like she was running after Ash or Brock. I'm going to say Brock. And I think this is probably the one and only episode that we're ever going to get where Brock is running away from a female that wants him.
Oh, at this point, but I'm sure that happens again.
I'm sure it does. So yeah, and that's how we end this week's episode. We don't get the good old goodbye from Ash and the gang saying goodbye to James' family or anything.
No, because they were healed.
Yes, they're bad guys. So yeah, that's this week's episode, bro.
Yeah.
Not too keen, are you?
I was okay with it. I was like, this is a good episode.
Yeah.
This is fine. And then as I'm reviewing it, I'm like, no.
So
I could totally take or leave this episode because nothing has changed.
No, nothing has changed. It was a filler episode.
It's a complete filler episode. You're right.
So all right. Well, that's this week's episode, but we're not done with this podcast as of yet because we have an announcement that if you stay to the end of this episode, thank you, and you get to hear this great announcement.
Well, it's we talked about last week's episode. We had the fantastic Jason Page. Guest starring and playing some of his music and singing some of his songs. Well, if you like episodes where we have guests, well,
we got another one next week.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to stay subscribed because we have yet another fantastic guest coming into your feed. We have, well, you always describe him better.
Yes, we have YouTube sensation Blaines. So if you follow Blaines, he is a big Pokemon fan, and he has a whole YouTube channel dedicated to Pokemon, and he will be making a guest appearance on next week's episode. So near yet so far-fetched.
And I think, we've mentioned on numerous occasions that we try to record in advance, and we try to have a bit of a stockpile, just in case we need a break or what have you. Well, this was an instance where, to accommodate the time difference,
because he lives in Japan.
He lives in Japan, so we definitely had to work some things around. So the long and the short of it is we have recorded that episode.
It was a great episode too.
It was a good episode. It was another filler.
Yes, it's a different episode. So without giving too much away, it's an episode that we don't normally get, and I don't think actually after this episode we don't get another one like it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was nice to chat with Blaines. Like I've said on numerous occasions, it's always nice to have guests on the show, especially
month of guests,
as you've been calling it.
Yes.
And especially when we've got people in such prominent positions with Pokemon. Blaines is one of the top Pokemon centric YouTubers, which was a nice get for us, and it was good to chat with him for an episode.
Yes, absolutely. So we hope you will listen to next week's episode. It's definitely a good one. It's a different episode, which we will go over next week. But other than that, do you have anything else to add, Doug?
No.
All right. Well, then go ahead and say your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you, do not miss next week's episode because it's a doozy. Have a good night, everyone.